But I think anytime you have a dream or a longing, might be a better word, a longing unmet, and there isn't necessarily your end in sight, that's a hard season to live in because I have to look myself in the mirror and practice what I'm preaching every single day. And there's days that it is a lot harder than other days. So I think that is a tough one that sometimes I don't always take the time to validate that it's really hard. Looking back on stuff I've been through and I'm on the other side of it, yeah, they were hard in the moment, but I'm through it too. This one, I'm not through it, and I also don't know if I ever will be.
Yeah.
And that's tough.
Welcome, world. Welcome, family, to another episode of the EL2A Podcast. I'm your host, Jamie Gilmore Jr., and to the right of me, we have a very, very special guest. All right, we have a dynamic leader, an author, pastor, podcast host, chief of staff at Church of Hope, and a Jesus lover. It's Emily Cummins. Thank you for joining us today, Emily.
Thank you. I'm so honored and excited to be with you.
I appreciate you. So I always share this story, right? So I just truly have gratitude towards you and towards your family for what you all mean to me. As a young whippersnapper, I would say a young person, 2020, fresh off football, coming back home, trying to figure it out. I was introduced to someone by the name of Mark Cummins. I think you know him.
I do.
And he had me come over to Church of Hope, where I was introduced to yourself, Katie, Joshua, the whole team. Through this experience, you guys brought me in. I was able to see what real leadership looked like, what team looked like. And you guys just you laid it out. You gave me a manual, say, this is how we do all our team building, blah, blah, blah. And you really helped me out. In the midst of all that, one day me and you were in a room, right? And we went in the boardroom for a meeting. You were on a whiteboard and we were talking out, just going over thoughts. And I mentioned a guy named Dr. Jason Williams to you. I say he always used to say OIG, and that's own your greatness. And you wrote own your greatness on the board. And through that meeting, we scripted up guiding young men to own their greatness, which is our mission for Cuts In from today. And I truly just appreciate you for who you are, and even for that moment. Do you remember that, right?
100%. That's one of my favorite memories. And I really believe in what you and the Cut Different team are doing. And to be able to be in that conference room that one day and truly, it was owning your greatness.
For sure.
It was you on the board and then seeing that click. That was fun to be a part of.
Yeah. So it took a special person to bring that out of me. So I appreciate you.
Thank you.
But I know Emily's going to bring a lot of folks from her following, from Church of Hope. There's going to be a lot of people watching this episode. And if you could do one thing for me right now, you know what I would need you to do? Make sure you like, subscribe, comment. All right. Make sure you like to subscribe on this comment. We're about to get into a great episode. So after my research, right, because I did my homework, after searching your social media, after, just hearing you speak, I always hear you talk about how you're to a certain age and you thought you would be married, that you'll have kids by now. After being on your YouTube, there was a comment that says, there is something about a woman of God.
Something.
She is something.
I'm something.
There is something about a woman of God. She is something. That means people are interested, Emily, and you are turning people around. What is this application? Do you have an application process? What is this about?
I mean, I have tried the dating apps, all the things. I guess my application process has been a little bit high. I don't know. I'm trying. If you get that figured out, will you tell me?
No,
please? Yeah. I actually had a childhood friend, Jamie, reach out to me recently, and they were like, I genuinely thought you would have been married by now. Like, what is happening? I'm like, thank you. I think, I don't know. I was on a Zoom call earlier today, actually, and somebody asked, are you single? Like, what's going on with that? And so I just celebrated my 34th birthday, and I remember vividly, I think I was probably in middle school or high school, thinking about the future, thinking about my life. And I do have to tell you, I was 100% that nerdy kid who was studying, reading. So I already knew I was a little bit unique, right?
Sure.
As a middle schooler, thinking about life. And I thought 28 is old. 28, I will be married and then have kids because I will have accomplished all the big goals of being an author and a speaker and all that stuff by 28. So 28, I'll do the things. Now at 34, I'm like, what? And 34 is not old.
Not at all.
Like, not at all. And so I think if I were to peel back the layers, I'm like, what is the something? The only way I can rationalize what's going on in my life is I think God has some sort of a story plot line that he's just not done writing yet. I don't know the outcome.
For sure.
And it's not a matter of me not putting myself in places and spaces and being open and available. And there is not a Google application. Although our staff at Church of Hope has joked that maybe we need to do a QR code to date Emily, and I have them fill out a form. But I think sometimes God protects us for something that we might not know or see yet. And it's certainly my journey and story hasn't been for a lack of meeting incredible guys. Like I've done the dating apps, met great dudes, but something just doesn't end up seeming to click.
Yeah.
And I personally refuse. And so for any of our ladies who are joining us, hear me on this. I refuse to lean into the posture of standards being too high. If you're talking about somebody has to be a certain height, maybe we get into a conversation. But when it comes to character, or the type of man who's going to lead a family one day, standards can't be too high. So I don't believe it's a matter of an application process being too tough, but that God is just covering and protecting and almost maybe hiding me for something that he has in the future. And I just think that guy's not ready for the something of this yet, But if you are watching, you can send your application to Jamie. He will vet you, and then he'll send you out.
Yeah. So cool. All right. I love that answer. And that was the politically correct answer. I love everything you just said. But do you think, has there ever been a doubt in your mind that maybe I am? Like, and I get that. And you get what I'm going?
100%.
Yeah.
So the last couple of years, probably turning 29 into 30, the last 3 years, I've been on this like roller coaster of like, is something wrong with me? Or what's going on? And so I meet with a coach every single month. And normally around my birthday, I intentionally will have a session with her because sometimes different times of the year. And I think whatever waiting season somebody's in, some of us, it might be a relationship, having kids. It might be a career goal or a season of life that you're in. But sometimes different times of the year can trigger you. So maybe it's a Valentine's Day or holidays or whatever the case may be. Normally around my birthday, I think I just start thinking about, I'm another year older and it hasn't happened. So I always meet with my coach. In the first couple years in my 30s, I would talk with her about am I missing something? Because in leadership, we talk a lot about the common denominator being you. So there's definitely been times where I'm like, is it me? Is the something of this just something? And as she's worked with me, we worked through my patterns and my hangups. And so she's seen the growth and she's been able to confirm with me, like, Emily, it's not something in you. And recently too, she equipped me with a resource that's been really visually helpful.
Give it to us.
Okay. So she told me like, get some rocks and then 2 jars from like the store, different colors, and then use a Sharpie with 1 jar, fill that jar with rocks that you put on there, how God has equipped and empowered you. So like he's equipped me to be a writer, to be a speaker, to be a leader. This situation helped me lead in here. It's just, this is the equipping you jar. The other jar, put your longings and your dreams. So to be married, to have kids. Seeing that they're different will remind me visually that they don't cross over. So my identity, it has nothing to do with my longings and how God has empowered and equipped me. So it's not a longing not being fulfilled yet doesn't mean that he hasn't equipped me to live into that longing. But I have to separate them, because when I start to attach my identity to a longing, that's normally where I will start to spiral. And I just have to keep it separate. It doesn't mean that there's different moments though. Like one holiday, I was sitting at my family's kitchen table. I'm like scrolling on Instagram, which if you are in a moment where you have a desire for something and like a relationship and then it's a holiday and you scroll and you're going to just see, and so I'm like scrolling, seeing all these coupley things. And I don't know why, because my dad too, and he's healthy. Most of the time they eat like salmon and salad. Like that's the core menu at Team Cummins' house, right? But this day they happen to have like Longhorns and those rolls.
Yeah.
And so I'm like literally eating bread and I just start sobbing to my mom in the kitchen. I'm like, I'm the only single person in the world. And my mom, and you've met her, she's the kindest, sweetest person ever. Pauses, puts her hands on the counter. She looks me in the eye. She's like, Emily, you are not the only single person in the world. And then she starts naming all these friends of mine who are single too. I'm like wiping away tears and like swallowing the bread. And I'm just like, you're right. You know? And I think sometimes when we start to get low, we can start to isolate and then think I'm the only single person in the world. There's something wrong with me. Nobody's swiping right on my dating profile. And it's just, that's not reality.
For sure.
It's not reality. And so I have to keep that in the forefront and keep people in my circle, like my mom or Jackie, my coach, who will look me in the eyes and be like, you're wrong. You know?
No, so check this out. So I got two ways I want to go with this. So it's like a double whammy. So one, I need your help. So I need your help because so you know the space that I work in, working with the young man. I deal with young people that they may have single parents, a mom trying to do the role of both. So they see an influx of dudes coming in and out of mom's life. I see young boys that crave more from mom, but mom is giving her energy elsewhere. And the reason that I'm asking you, because it seems like you found a sense of peace within being with yourself. You found a peace within knowing that that man is not now, it may be later. How can, if one of my parents are watching this and they're going through a season where they need to maybe find this same peace, what are some things they can do? As well as what's coming to mind. Well, answer that first before I double whammy you. What can they do to find that level of peace?
I'm learning this in real time. And it's something that I'm trying to continually refine and practice because I like to say I'm a recovering perfectionist. I'm an Enneagram 1, like INTJ type A person. And so I normally want things to be pretty clean and perfect. And relationships are not that. And then waiting for something to happen is not that. So I'm going to have days where I feel stronger than other days. And so I'm trying to practice some healthy rhythms, especially on the days I feel really healthy and strong. So when I step into a day where maybe an Instagram post or a friend getting into a relationship or I get invited to a baby shower or something might make me feel a little bit odd. And this, I think you're going to appreciate the answer to this one. But one of those, I have like a fun list. As are my sister, she's an Enneagram 7. So she's the more like life of the party.
Different end of those.
Oh yeah. I'm like the rule follower and she's like, let's have fun. And so we're a perfect, friendship sister match. But I don't always think to just like, let's have fun. I have to be intentional about it. So this weekend I was brainstorming, okay, what are some of the things that are life-giving to me that when I'm feeling a little bit down about being single, and this hasn't happened in my world yet, I can do, and I'm going to enjoy it. And so like cooking has become a new thing, which I did not always enjoy, but like it's become a new thing. So last night I made this like brand new recipe, like creamy 1-pan chicken orzo. No idea if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but it was fun. It was delicious. Writing is another one for me. And so I'm just finding things that are fun, that refresh and fuel you. And not to be confused with like binge watching a show, which sometimes there's time for that. But I think sometimes the things that we lean into to refresh and refuel us actually put us in a perpetual state of discouragement. So if you're just watching rom-coms, you're going to start getting discouraged. So I have to do things that fuel me. But I also have to make sure that my mind, and so if you're in this season, like making sure you're not just cooking or learning to cook, because in my mind I'm like, oh well, this isn't be good for one day if I'm married anyways. Like no, I do it for Emily now. It's not for like I'm living for today and being present here, because I'm not disqualified from becoming me, and I'm not half of a person if I don't ever have a significant other. So you have to refuel yourself and not think, well, if I had someone who's going to refuel me, refresh yourself.
Simple question. Would you be okay? So are you okay with it? Your person never comes. That you're okay with that?
Simple question.
I guess that's not simple, but are you okay with that?
Yeah.
All right. So actually, one thing I will add to that as we move on, The cooking thing, that might be it. The way to a man's heart is.
I've heard that.
Yeah.
I've heard that.
So if you perfect that, I think you may be on the right track. So to let me know how that go. But to move on. So I've got some insight. The person you are today, it was told to me that you've always been this person. I heard you was the spokesperson for your sister. If she needed to say something, you would speak for her.
True.
Even in playing in the background, you would be telling her how to play, and if she did it wrong, you would tell her that's wrong. So it basically, you've been the boss lady for a while. And so when we're talking about who you are now, and even getting off the relationship and talking about looking for that guy, do you think? And then as well, you grew up with a Marine. So let's talk about that. Talk about your growing up with a Marine. How does that even look? Because when I see it, I see like getting out of bed, left, right, left, left, right, left. Like, how was it growing up with a Marine as your father?
Okay, so literally the getting out of bed, left, right, left was my mom.
Okay, oh man.
She would have Katie and I up as kids to go do these Taibo workout videos and then eat like oatmeal. And then she homeschooled us. So my mom was.
Are you homeschooled like all through school?
We were homeschooled until middle school, and then we moved to South Florida, went to Christian school, public school, and we moved to Ocala and went to public school.
I know that piece.
Yeah. So a little bit of all of it. So all the different school types. But my dad truly was the biggest champion for Katie and I. I grew up believing I could do and be anything I wanted to. And I actually never thought that because I was a girl, I couldn't accomplish something until I was 22 in one of my first jobs. And I remember leaving a meeting, and somebody after the meeting was like, you were the only girl in there, right? And I was like, what?
Yeah.
And it did not dawn on me. And I know that's because of how my dad raised Katie and I to be leaders. And he is really a phenomenal dad, and always challenges and champions me to be who God made me to be.
Sure.
And potentially somebody could say, well, your standards are really high because you have a great example in a dad. And I would say, you're right. He has set the bar really high in how he loves my mom, how he loves God, and then how he has loved his daughters.
Yeah. So I think I have the best dad. I'm pretty sure you would say you have the best dad as well. So one thing we do have in common, we are preachers' kids. One thing about my experience, I'm a product of teenage parents. My dad became a pastor later on in his life. So I experienced him pre, and now I know, post. I think for you, your dad's always been a pastor. So most of the time when you think preacher kids, you think about the person that has to go to church every day, can't do nothing, can't, you know what I'm saying. For myself, my experience is a little different. My dad led by example. And we played sports, so we're always off, doing something with sports. But it was never like read Bible every night. He just showed examples, but it wasn't like making us do these things. As far as your experience, how was your experience? Because you're a pastor now, so obviously, I don't know, did you ever rebel? Did being a preacher kid, because usually that's how it goes. You had the preacher kids that had sports down their throats, and then they rebelled. Did Emily ever have a rebellious moment?
I didn't have a rebellious moment in the classic way.
Okay.
So I do think I definitely know why we are friends now, because our dads are similar in leading by example. There was definitely never a have to in our house either. I think probably the craziest thing I did, and again, this isn't even crazy, it's just that I went to work at a church. But I moved to Las Vegas after college, and telling my parents I was moving to Vegas was an experience. They're like, normally I think your parent, and we're in Central Florida, right? And so it's just like, where would you go? I'm going to go to Vegas. Like, it just was so random and different. But the church opportunity that I had out there was phenomenal, and I learned so much. So it was probably a little bit different. But I didn't have a rebel, because I told you I'm a perfectionist. I was the firstborn, like, rule follower kid. I was and probably if you're looking at the stereotypes of pastors' kids, the like goody two shoes or the rebel, I'm probably on in the summer as a kid, I would be like, Dad, can I go to work with you? And his like assistants would give me all the projects that they didn't want to do. And I'm like doing it happy. Like,
I mean, what's the worst thing you ever done? I mean, like I just asked you a rebellious moment and you say you went to go work for a church. Like,
we should interview my sister on this
Okay.
one because she probably have a laundry list of stories.
Okay, now you're telling on your sister. Come on, look at her, Katie. She's
Of
telling
me,
me. Oh, for you. Okay.
not of her.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
Not of her.
Yeah.
But no, I really I think because how our dads led in a similar way.
For sure.
In middle school, I made a personal decision, not because of my parents, but a personal decision to follow Jesus. And then since middle school, I've been pursuing a relationship with Jesus.
That's it. That's what I want. How? In this world that we live in, how does a middle school girl says, I'm not going to participate in sex, I'm not going to go to the world, what's being fed down my throat, I'm going to follow Jesus and I'm going to become who God created me to be. How?
Yeah. So I just interviewed a friend of mine, Tikoa, on BecomingMe.tv yesterday, and she said this statement that resonates and is going to answer this question really well. I don't want to become who the world says to be, but who the word says I should be. And so the word is God's word. And as a middle school girl, I started reading, okay, what does the Bible say? So I read scriptures. I'm like, okay, sex is God's gift to marriage. Like, okay, cool. Reading things about like purity and how to conduct yourself, how to lead, how to forgive people who hurt you, how to speak words that are life-giving and not tearing people down, how to trust God with finances and give financially to the local church. And so I'm reading all this in the Bible and I'm just thinking through, if I can trust God with my eternal salvation, like when I die, take my last breath, going and being with him for forever in heaven, how would I not trust him and take him at his word and obey him at his word on earth? Does not mean I am perfect and haven't like said something mean or like, I know we just went through that question. I hope you guys hear me. I'm sure I've done something crazy outside of living in Las Vegas. And I didn't do anything crazy.
So about to say Sin City. What happened in Vegas stays in Vegas. Cool.
I will tell you, when I would fly home, when I lived in Vegas, flights to Vegas are always like party type flights because everybody's going there to do whatever. And people will look around, what are you going to Vegas for? What are you going? And every time they saw a lone female traveling Vegas, like, what are you going to Vegas for?
Sure.
I was like, I work at church. And immediately like, oh, okay. And like, move on.
Boring.
I'm like, no. But if you will take God at his word, and that's just what I've consistently done. Like I just chose to believe it and go all in on it and trust that what he says in his word is actually true. And then I've seen over and over again, like one of the scriptures talks about how God's peace passes our understanding. There is a lot I do not understand in this world, like a whole lot. And in every single moment where I haven't understood something or maybe have it figured out or have all the answers, even in singleness, 34, don't have a relationship, no guys in sight, like, my family's like, any matches? I'm like, no. And so, but I have this peace from God, how I was quickly able to tell you a moment ago, like, I am okay if that guy doesn't come because God's peace passes my understanding. And so I've seen him show up and answer my life questions every day. And I just choose to believe him at his word. And I think sometimes we make it a little more complicated than it needs to be. And I'm not saying that makes it easy because when you do look around at what the world says to do and to be, it's hard. Then the pressure is for real. And sometimes, not sometimes, most of the time, choosing to be set apart and take God at his word rather than what the world is telling you, you're going to maybe look a little different or people aren't going to understand. But for me, I keep going back to, I have God's peace with me. And when my life on this side of eternity ends and I take my first breath in heaven, I'm answering to him, not anybody around me telling me to look or do or be a certain way.
And that's beautiful. It's beautiful to know that you're to that spot. But even us on this stage right now, we understand that there's a lot of people that even getting to that point, that's a hard place to get to. Because again, the world that we live in, we get on our phone right now, scroll a couple times, you're going to see the drugs, the money, you're going to see all these things that the world is telling us we need. but still trying to find that solid. That's a hard place to get to.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a hard place to get to. So 2012, all right, you wrote Becoming on your wrist. I guess you did one bad thing. Let somebody tell you got a tattoo.
I have 8 tattoos.
Oh, she's a bad girl. She got
I'm a
8
rebel.
tattoos.
I have the most in my family.
Yeah. But in 2012, you put Becoming on your wrist, right? So in 2012, that had to mean one thing. I would like to know, what did it mean in 2012 and what does it mean to you now?
Yep. So 2012, I was a sophomore in college and I was really struggling with perfectionism. From my earliest childhood memories, I just remember wanting to be perfect, not because anybody else put that on me. I think I really put it on myself. And so in the middle of college, and I'm trying to figure out what I want to do, which feels daunting. And I just felt almost paralyzed by it. And I was reading a book by Shauna Niequist called Bittersweet. And chapter 25 in the book, this is how much it impacted me and made me get a tattoo. So I remember the chapter. And she starts talking about in your 20s, it's a season of becoming. And it's not a season to be perfect, but to be becoming who God made you to be growing and to be evolving. And so 2012 also was like the era of wrist tattoos. It was also a little popular. So I was like, ooh, actually my mom led the way. She's like, I'm getting a wrist tattoo. And I was like, me too. And so I picked Becoming because of what it meant personally to me. And today it still means the same thing. And it's that reminder, like, don't tip back into perfectionism. You're becoming here, and becoming has nothing to do with what I'm doing or an end result. It's all about who I am, who I'm being.
Yeah, no, I love it. So that was then. What does it mean to you now? Today, in today's time, when you look at that tattoo, what does that mean to you?
Yeah, how I'm becoming who God made me to be, because it is always this evolving journey. Like, I'm never on this side of eternity, I believe, going to become. I'm always going to be becoming and growing. And the second I stop growing, I am not here. And so it just is, it's a reminder to keep leaning into that space.
Unmet expectations, right? So what does it feel like when you realize, that the things aren't going your way? So we're talking about the becoming on the journey. I like to say it a lot, life is a journey. I always say you have to take the good with the bad. You can't accept the good and not accept the bad. Through your becoming story, there was a lot of highs and the lows. How are you dealing with those unmet expectations? Like, as we talked about, not having the husband, I heard you say house in one of your sermons and all those different things. How are you dealing with that?
It is hard. So I'll share one specific story. A couple years ago, I had moved back from Vegas and I started a company in Ocala. So I was doing strategic planning and development. A lot of what we did in the conference room that one day, when you're dreaming about Cut Different. And I did that with different companies and churches and just helping them find whatever the answer was that they were looking for. And it was really successful. And I hated it. Like, it was so successful. And I just genuinely, I was depressed and I was on the brink of a depression. And I, again, found myself in a conversation with mom and dad. And I'm just looking at my dad and I'm like, I don't even know who I am, who I want to be. Like, I don't even know if I feel anything right now. And he looked at me and he said, Emily, you know who you want to be. You just have to choose to be her. And so from that moment to now, when I'm met with unmet expectations, which happens all the time, I remind myself, hey, like, I have to choose to be me. So I can't control this external thing around me, but I can control me and how I choose to respond to it. So, and the part about relationships, it almost feels a little tongue in cheek, because when I've said I can't control that I haven't, met the right guy yet, so you're like, well, you could go get married tomorrow, go meet somebody. And yeah, you can. Anybody, the right guy, I have not met him yet. And so while I might not be able to control that timing or how God's writing that in my story, I can control how I'm becoming me right here. And that's me choosing to be me.
How can someone else choose to become them? So there's a whole lot of people that's watching this that are probably lost in trying to look for that answer. So is there a practical, advice that you can give for somebody choosing to become them?
Yeah. So for me, I'm a person of faith. We've talked about being pastor's kids. And so it starts in my relationship with Jesus. If you don't have a relationship with God, I share confidently, to know who you are. You have to know whose you are. And so beginning a relationship with Jesus Christ first, then start your day in the Word. So for me, the only way I can step into every day choosing to be me is by starting with Jesus. And so I'm reading my Bible first thing every morning. I have literally beta tested and found in my life that if I start with Instagram or I start with emails or text messages over the Bible, I am most likely depressed diving into the day. But if I start first with God's word, then later look at social media, I have a whole different aura about me. And so to choose to be you, you got to know who you are. I believe that starts with knowing whose you are. And then you got to know what his word says about you and confidently affirming what his word says about you. And that's how you choose to be you. Then there's like, take care of yourself. Recently, I had the opportunity at Hope to teach from the book of First Kings and Elijah's story. And a lot of recovery groups use this acronym HALT: hungry, angry, lonely, tired. And it's just kind of like this checklist. Like God gave us in our physical bodies all of these signals to alert us if something's off. So like when you're hungry, you can get a little hangry, right? Or when you're angry, your emotions are a signal like something's bubbling under the surface. And if left unaddressed, like they're going to boil over. Feeling lonely. More of us today feel lonely than ever before in a world where we're more connected, which is wild. Or when you're tired. So HALT: hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. That's a system that I use to check myself every day. Because if I'm hungry, I'm eat something. Angry, talk to my coach, talk with a trusted friend about my emotions, talk with God. Lonely, reach out and connect with a friend. Tired, take a nap, you know? And so those 4 things and time with God, I immediately am making sure I'm choosing to be me. And that's how you can too.
I love it. So what happens to that person that says that the same God that you're telling me to trust and spend my mornings with, it's the same God that's not sending me my husband or having the kids that I want? What do you say to that person that feels that way?
I would say that he's the same God who loved you and me so much that he sent his only son to die for us. So if I can trust him with that and where I'm going to spend my entire eternity, I can trust that he hasn't brought the guy in my life for a reason.
Pastor, that's not enough for me. I need more. Like, again, I'm on earth now. Heaven is later. I have bills to pay. I got kids that are crying. I got a whole lot going on. I need love. I need whatever, fulfillment. I need something. And that answer is not doing it for me. What else would you say to that person?
And the struggle is for real. Like, I get it. The struggle in life and how you're feeling. But if you need more than God loving you so much that he literally, and Jesus loving you and taking God at his word, he became a human form, God as a baby, growing up as a kid, and then literally being tortured and murdered on a cross. Sometimes I think we can water down that story and like, oh yeah, and then heaven one day. Like, no, that's a reality. Like it literally happened. And that's where then I can't believe that for you. You have to have your own encounter with Jesus and believe that story for yourself. And if you need more than Jesus' sacrifice, I mean, I got nothing bigger than that. Because no one else has ever died for me. Religion hasn't died for me. My parents love me, but they're alive, you know, and I know they would do anything for me. But God loved me that much. And he would do that if you were the only person here. It's not just because all of us, and it's not some mystical story. It's reality. So there is no bigger more than that.
One thing that I've heard you say throughout this, and even just listening to your story, listening to your answers, even on your website, it mentions the perfectionist, right? I used to say I was a perfectionist, but it was like a resume perfectionist. It was like when the weakness thing, you're like perfectionist just to make you look good. But I wouldn't probably say I'm not a real perfectionist. I like to be good at things, but perfectionist is just a whole nother level. What gets you to the point to become first of all, are you a real perfectionist? And what gets you to the point to be that?
Like my closet is color coded by shirt length.
You're a perfectionist for sure.
Yeah. Like to a level, it can be a little OCD. So yeah, I'm definitely and I like clean all of that. But I've just learned like it doesn't really matter, you know? And so my closet is color coded still because I like that. But when I'm interacting or leading our team or if somebody's desk isn't as clean as mine, who cares?
Don't go in my office. And this is getting to the question. Everything that you're saying goes back to the start of this episode of why this guy because he's going to have to come in color coded.
I'm pretty
He is going to
sure
be in order. This is going to be a tough.
after this, I don't even think I need dating apps. I'm just going to put this episode link in the profile of everything. Be like, watch this. This is all you need to know. Then if you're interested, reach out to Jamie. He'll vet you for me.
I got you. It's going to be a tough task, fellas. But one thing you say a lot is warrior friends. You say it to me for texting. I hear you say it a lot on social media. When a warrior is a brave or experienced soldier or fighter. All right. So do you consider everyone a warrior?
Yeah.
Yeah. How? Because somebody may not, you're saying that to somebody, but somebody may not even believe that about themselves. What makes everyone a warrior?
So first, I don't remember when I started saying, hey, warrior friend, but I remember why I kept doing it. I was at a conference and a lady approached me and she said, hey, thank you for calling me a warrior friend because I don't feel like a warrior. I actually feel like the opposite. And you calling me a warrior friend called me up to believe in myself. So from that moment on, I have just been committed to calling people like a warrior friend because I believe we're all strong and we're stronger than we think we are and we can do hard things. And each and every one of us goes through really hard things. Our hard might look different than somebody else's challenge, but your challenge is a challenge to you. And my challenge is a challenge to me. There's people watching this podcast laughing that a struggle to me is being single because they're like, if I can be single again, girl, you don't know, you know? And so challenge is challenge. And so I like to remind all of us, you're stronger than you think you are. And that's why I call them up as a warrior.
One thing, when you think about being a warrior, somebody overcoming obstacles, a lot of people get defeated in war. They don't make it through war, make it through the battles. They end up giving up. They lose themselves. They get discouraged. A lot of different things happen in war. And it's making me think about even when we're talking about the population we serve, the parents or just a community of people. There's a lot of people that life beats them up. And they begin to think like, my story doesn't matter. I don't matter. What do you say to a person that believes those things about themselves?
Your story does matter. And just because you have a thought or a feeling doesn't mean that it's true. This is why we started Becoming Stories on the Becoming Me podcast in 2014. I believe in becoming, tattooed it on my wrist, but I believe in it so much that it became my worldview. And I started sharing it on a blog. And I literally asked a friend of mine, hey, come over, let's set up cameras like we have today and let's film your story. Now, almost 250 stories later, the most popular stories at becomingme.tv are not the most well-known people. Like there's people on there that you would be like, oh my goodness, I know their name. They're an author, they're a speaker. But the most popular, the most watched, the stories that resonate the most with people are individuals that you wouldn't know if you cross paths with them in public.
Wow.
And what I appreciate about that, and I've appreciated about the Becoming Me.tv community, is it's just this visual reminder that your story does matter and each and every one of us has a story. I've wrestled through that. Even in a lot of our questions, it's like, well, I'm not a rebel. I'm kind of like squeaky clean feeling sometimes. Does that mean I have anything to share? But I do. And you have a story to share and they're different. And that's what makes them really special because there is literally no other Jamie Gilmore on the entire planet. There's only one you. The same is true for you watching. There's only one you. You are not replicated anywhere. And so we need the gift of you to show up authentically you because nowhere else in history or any other time do we get to experience you. That's why you got to share it.
For sure. You're an expert basically at interviewing, at storytelling, at all these different things. On Becoming Me TV, you interviewed, I think we just said 250 people. What are some of the common trends that you're seeing throughout these conversations with these folks? What are some things that are coming across all stories?
A lot of people don't think they have a story, but when they're asked, they really want to share their story. I think there's also a common correlation between there is a resonation with the word becoming and that we all have this evolution of growth, this becoming sense. And so I've seen that as a theme, but then each story is very unique. So, and that's probably a commonality. Like each one is very different, both in the presentation and their life experience, because nothing's the same.
Mm-hmm. How do you breaking out of what other people think? I don't know yourself again. We know you're a tough cookie, but perception or people's opinions, they do weigh on us.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of folks out there that the world is telling them who they are and who they should be. And then we have this tool called social media. I don't know if you've heard of it or ever been on there,
I
right?
don't know.
And it's a dangerous place because again, and we talking, you get on these sites. You just see these things, and especially if you're in a space like if you're speaking that you don't have, then these things start popping up and showing themselves. So in a world that's trying to tell you who you are, right?
Yeah.
In a world that's trying to dictate who you are,
Yeah.
how? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How can I just stay focused on in practical? Because the one thing I want to do, I want somebody to I want them to be able to write some notes.
Agreed.
How can they walk away and feel comfortable with becoming them?
I'm a visual learner. And so I have to have reminders around me everywhere, all the time. So obviously we know I have a tattoo, 8, and each of them remind me of something very specific about me becoming who God made me to be. But a tattoo might not be your thing. Totally get that. Yeah. So I put sticky notes on my mirror that are just like affirmations and truths that remind me when I'm getting ready in the morning, like, hey, be who God made you to be. Yeah. I listen to music that reminds me like, hey, I am a warrior. I am a daughter of God. I fill my ears with it. I also use jewelry. So I actually, this year, we're recording in 2025. I did something different. I got a charm bracelet. So guys, and if you're a guy, I'm sorry, I'm tipping into a girly thing here, but I have a charm bracelet, and every month, at the end of the month, I go and buy a different charm that represents what I learned about me becoming Emily that month. So I have up through April so far on this bracelet, and it just every time I look at my wrist, I'm like, oh yeah, like this was from last month, and it was my reminder, like I'm stronger than I think I am. Yeah, like I can do this. Yeah.
So I said, break it down for me. Just if you can go through, because I would love for people to see where you're at and how this year has have you grown this year? I'm a word of the year person. Okay. So 2025, my word is super bloom. Have you ever heard of super bloom before? Super bloom? Super bloom. Bloom, I'm not. Okay. So it's like a phenomenon that happens out west under literally only catastrophic conditions. So Death Valley. It's dangerous. I know. Death Valley in like 2016, it looked like a desert. If you Google it, you'll see complete desert wasteland. 3 months later, it's like a wildflowers took over the whole field. And what happened was like these catastrophic winds, rain, like it was a wild season, but the rain and the wind had to happen and the cold temperatures in order for all those dormant seeds to actually bloom. And so for me, my 2025 word is, okay, there's maybe not as catastrophic as like what happened in Death Valley, but catastrophic unmet expectations, hopes not met, dreams not yet fulfilled. Right. It feels catastrophic to me. You have your own version of that. So I want God to do a super bloom. That out of this, he's going to bloom something. So I have a flower charm. I have a seashell from January. I was learning to let go. I want to have it all figured out, which is key for me, the perfectionist. Then the next month I had a key to remind me to choose to be me, because I do believe that that's the key that sets me free. The next month I have one that says present over perfect. Wow. I was in a room where I was reminding myself, the room felt bigger than the people in the room. Yeah. It felt like a room like, am I supposed to be here? I'm not that important. And I stepped into that room present, reminding myself, I'm enough, I belong, and I can do this. And then last month is a red heart, because I had to lean into some really tough challenges, and I learned and saw that I'm tougher than I think I am, and I am strong, and I can do hard things. Yeah. So that's it. We'll see what Maze is. I was about to say wonder what Maze is. Yeah. But so author, right? So that's one of a great titles for even myself. One day I'm striving to be an author. So we have Becoming Me, Choosing to Be You. All right. So when you think about that book and what it encompasses, when you started it, what was it for? Who was it for, and what was it for? Second grade, Emily. Literally. Yeah. As I said, I already told you I was a nerd, so we've already established that. But in second grade, I entered my library's writing contest with a really ridiculous story about like a zoo. I don't even know. And I lost. And I remember, like, I have a picture of me that day, and I kept it on my dresser for a long time
Because I remember as my parents were taking that picture thinking, I am going to be a published author one day, and this library is going to see that I did it.
That's so
Right.
dope.
And so when I published that book, I was like, yeah, I kept that promise to second grade Emily.
And what do you hope what did you hope when you're writing it that people walked away with when they read your book?
It's going to sound repetitive and simplistic, but the title, that they discover what it means to become you and how to do that. You just lean into a really practical question. The book is filled with a lot of practical steps.
Yeah. So you are so for yourself. So when it comes to fighting hard battles, I'm pretty sure you get into that in the book. What's the hardest fight that you had to fight in your becoming journey? And I know we talked about. Please don't say going to Vegas.
No. I think honestly, one of the hardest ones is the one I'm in right now that we've been talking about a lot. And again, I get people can be listening being like, really?
Yeah.
But I think anytime you have a dream or a longing, might be a better word, a longing unmet, and there isn't necessarily your end in sight, that's a hard season to live in because I have to look myself in the mirror and practice what I'm preaching every single day. And there's days that it is a lot harder than other days. So I think that is a tough one that sometimes I don't always take the time to validate that it's really hard. Looking back on stuff I've been through and I'm on the other side of it. Yeah, they were hard in the moment, but I'm through it too. This one, I'm not through it. And I also don't know if I ever will be.
Yeah.
And that's tough.
Yeah. When you think about lessons, so life is, I would say, we said it's a journey, but in the journey, there are blessings and there are lessons throughout that journey. So throughout your journey, if you had to give or if you can't, but think of 3 lessons, just 3 lessons that life has taught you to this point, what would they be?
The first is to choose to be you. When I was caught in some depression and didn't know who I wanted to be, that key reminded me that I was not stuck. I had the key to set myself free. Yeah. Choose to be you. The second, the affirmations, you're enough, you belong, you can do this, they have been on repeat in my mind. And I think that lesson has taught me that the words that I speak over myself, they are a lot stronger and have more impact and weight than I often give them credit to. The exact event that I used those mantras stepping into, it was like an environment I had never been in before. And it was bigger than me and I was nervous. It was new. But saying those words gave me confidence walking into a new environment. And once I got in the environment, I was like, oh yeah, I am enough. I belong. Yeah. I can do this. Yeah. And so it reminded me my words that I speak over me really matter. And I think a third lesson would be that I am a warrior. And we talked about that already, but it's really easy to think that we're not all that strong. And we are hard, we are tough, and we can really do hard, challenging things.
You know, one thing's cool about you, a lot of the questions go back to the same answers, but they know that you really live it. Like those are principles that are embedded in you. That's why they keep coming out. So that's a beautiful thing. One thing that I was thinking as you're saying it, again, we talk about a journey. I created a GPS program, growth, personal development, self-discovery. And I always see, even when parents come within Cut Different, we're trying to help the boys answer 2 questions. Who am I and where am I going? All right. So you always got to know who you are. It's going to help you on your journey. That's like your gas in the car. And then where you're going, obviously, that's the destination. And I always say it changes. You know, you just have to have one in the destination. But one thing about the destination, from getting from here to there, we focus on there so much, we forget to be here. We forget to be present in the moment. Like, we'll be where our feet at. What is something that you can give the people to help them to just focus on being more present while they're chasing whatever where they're trying to go?
If we're only focused on the destination, we do miss out on the gift up here. And you are becoming someone on your way to there. And so if you're not thinking and being present here, who you become on the way there might become someone you don't recognize or really want to be. And so if we miss being present here, I think we forfeit who we're becoming because we're so focused on some fixed goal. And then once you get to that goal, you're going to start the cycle all over again. So you're going to literally miss your life. And so I think often we really exchange a lot in life by thinking about these big goals and destinations. And then we miss out on everything in the in-between. And often it's that stuff that's like the magical, fun, special stuff that we actually remember more than the thing at the end of the journey.
Sure. What was the pivot moment in your life? Like, we all have those moments that make us like pivot. So for me, I was an athlete. Football got taken away from me. It's like, okay, you got to go figure it out. So I had to get on a journey of self-discovery to figure out and get to the place I am now. What was that moment in your life where you had to pivot?
That Choose to Be You conversation, that was a pinpoint for me. And predominantly, I think, and I've had a couple since that moment, but that has been the theme. And I think sometimes when I start to focus in on that end destination goal rather than who I'm becoming in the middle, I can get kind of trapped there. So that Choose to Be You was a huge pivot point. Yeah.
So as we're wrapping, so there's a lot of good things that you said in this episode. We understand the power of God. Jesus is our Savior. And, one thing when I'm dealing with people, I understand that, most people they're searching. And I've never tried to minimize what a person feels or how they see things. Always been open to listen. So, somebody may hear your story and they're saying, well, Emily, she just got it all figured out. And she da-da-da-da. Was there ever a moment in Emily's life where she was disappointed in God and where she questioned God?
100%. And I hope that you've been able to pick up on some of that through, like, I have wrestled through a lot of disappointment with where I'm at in my life and feeling like, man, now I'm like a geriatric mom. That's what they call women who have kids later in life. Like, how is that thing? If I have kids or whatever,
Yeah.
But what I appreciate about God, and I'm with you because I believe we validate how we feel.
For sure.
So your feelings are for real. Then we challenge and change how we think. And so for me, and my faith background, God isn't afraid of my feelings. He actually asked me to bring them to him. So I have taken him my disappointment, my anger, what the heck are you doing? And he keeps giving me that peace. I'm going to be okay. So I've definitely wrestled through and am wrestling through with him all the time. And then he keeps showing up and reminding me I'm with you, I'm in you, I'm for you, it's going to be okay. And if that guy's out there, he's going to be worth the wait.
Sure. No, I love this, man. Another episode of the EL2A Podcast, the lovely Miss Emily B. Cummins. What does B stand for?
Beth, my middle name.
Beth, okay. Beth, where does Beth come from? Family member passed down? Okay,
yeah.
Okay.
My mom's side.
Mom's side, grandmom or something?
So my mom's middle name is Elizabeth.
Okay.
And me and Katie is Beth.
Okay, so both of you have the same middle name. That's pretty unique. All right, well, Emily Beth Cummins, I appreciate you. I appreciate you for joining me today. One thing I did know about this episode that would come out and was that I knew it would be informative and I knew you would give advice and tips for people to take away. So I truly appreciate you for gracing the stage. So thank you for joining us. All right. So everybody, if you don't have it already, make sure you stop, like, subscribe, and comment. All right. Make sure it's a lot of gems that take away. Actually, give me this. Give me one of your favorite gems that you took away from this episode. Place it in the comments so we can see it there. You already know what's next. July 25th, our summer gala over at her spot or her Church of Hope. We'll be over having our summer gala, so I'm pretty sure the flyer is up. Make sure you get your tickets and everything. Emily's gonna be there. We hope Emily will be there, but I hope so. But no, great episode. One thing I'm going to get you to do as we wrap, I want you to first tell people where to find you. Then I want you to give someone some encouragement. You've been doing it the whole episode, but just give someone just the parting words as they're on their becoming story, their becoming journey. I'll give them some motivation on it.
Yeah. So I would love to connect on social media. I am at Emily B. Cummins, what we just made fun of, my name. And then also becomingme.tv is the website. And final encouragement, I believe Choose to Be You isn't just for me. So if I were to have that posture that my dad had with me that one day, however you feel, if you feel stuck, you feel unsure, you feel disappointed, angry, or you are loving life, you know who you want to be. You just have to choose to be you, and no one else can be you. So the world needs the gift of you. So keep showing up, keep becoming you.
I love it. We'll see you next week.